Hey everybody, this is Jim.
And this is Jeremy.
And today we're going to talk about new music book releases, new albums, and some music news, some bands we've been listening to, and we're going to end it with the top 10 from September 1966. Let's get into some new music book releases. Sometimes besides the regular books I read, Stephen King and Jonathan Mayberry, I do like a good biography.
Who doesn't?
In case you missed some of these first ones, these are already out. We have some new books out on music. We got John Hyatt. He has a book called Have a Little Faith, the John Hyatt story. John Mellencamp has a book out just called Mellencamp. And we have a guy by the name of J.J. French. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
He was the guitarist for Twisted Sister.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
And it's called Twisted Business, Lessons from My Life in Rock and Roll. We also have a book by Matt Sorum, and it's Double Talkin' Jive, True Rock and Roll Stories from the Drummer of Guns N' Roses, The Cult, and Velvet Revolver.
That one's a must for me.
Now, these are books coming out. Dave Grohl has a book coming out.
I saw that. I'm excited for that.
October 5th, called The Storyteller, Tales of Life and Music. We got a B.B. King has a new one coming out, believe it or not. And called King of the Blues, The Rise and Reign of B.B. King. And Elvis keeps putting stuff out. He has, It's Christmas with Elvis, the official guide to the holidays from the King of Rock and Roll. There's a book on Eddie Van Halen called Eruption, Conversations with Eddie Van Halen. And these all come out October 5th. We have Amy Winehouse, Beyond Black. So those all come out October 5th.
How about Nikki Sixx? I believe he has a book coming out soon.
Oh, I don't have that on here.
Yeah.
Okay, October 6th, we have the Rolling Stones. It's called Hot Stuff, the story of the Rolling Stones through the Ultimate Memorabilia Collection. The little memorabilia book there. Robbie Krieger, October 12th, Set the Night on Fire, My Many Lives and Deaths as the guitarist of the Doors. And then there's another Rolling Stones book called The Rolling Stones Unzipped.
Ooh.
Don't know what that is. So those are the books you want to go look for. Probably look for the B.B. King. I don't know about the Elvis, but, I just read Sinead O'Connor, Rememberings. That was pretty good. So now we have new releases, album releases. October 1st, we got Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett. Love for Sale.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Well, she did an album with Tony a couple years ago. It's actually pretty good. We got Ministry. That's an old band. Moral Hygiene. October 15th, Coldplay has a new album out. Music of the Spears. Let's see. Toby Keith. I don't think I'll be buying that. Young Thug, Jeremy. Young Thug has a new album out.
Ooh.
Coming out. October 22nd, Duran, Future Past. I think they put out a single recently. My Morning Jacket. I've heard of them. I don't know.
I've heard of them. I haven't listened to them, though.
And it says self-titled, so that's kind of weird because I know they put stuff out before. So also October 22nd, Elton John has a new album out called The Lockdown Sessions. And these are basically duets with other artists. I heard one song. He's got some mainly newer artists that he's working with.
Was it a lot of piano? Did he have guitar combination?
Well, no, these are duets with newer artists. Like I heard there's a song with Dua Lipa called Cold Heart. I think he already put that one out. Young Thug and Nicki Minaj. He's got a song with. The one I found most interesting is it's a cover of a Metallica song, Nothing Else Matters. And Miley Cyrus is singing that. This is already out. You can hear a little piano in the beginning. I don't think Elton's singing on this. But it's also Yo-Yo Ma. I think he's a cellist. And Chad Smith on drums. Eddie Vedder and Elton John do a song called E-Ticket. Stevie Wonder and Elton John. Stevie Nicks and Elton John. And Glenn Campbell came back to record a song with Elton.
Wow.
Called I'm Not Gonna Miss You.
All kidding aside, that's a pretty great group of musicians that he's combining with. So I'd be curious to hear those songs.
Yeah, even the newer ones, but as long as there's no, rap in there.
Yeah. Elton John and rap, I can't picture those two together.
Yeah, he's with Little Nas X.
All right.
Yeah, and Elton. Yeah. And then we got Ed Sheeran, who puts out an album, I think, every 5 months or so.
5 weeks.
Yeah. And the big one is on November 5th, Abba, Voyage, which is amazing because it's been 40 years, for a band to get back together, record after 40 years.
Every guy out there secretly likes Abba. They will not admit it, but they do.
My wife's a big Abba fan.
Yes.
I like Abba. I like some of their songs.
Yep. They're one of those bands that you really can't hate them. They have niche songs that kind of match anybody and everybody.
Yeah, they're fun songs. A little bit later on in music news, I'll be talking a little bit more about Abba.
Ooh, exciting.
A couple new ones that I've been listening to is Billy Idol. And I'm a little disappointed because it's only a 4-song EP. I wish he came out with a full album.
I pre-ordered this EP, but mine has not arrived yet.
Mm-hmm.
I ordered a signed copy.
Oh.
So I'm very excited for that to come in so that I can listen to it and also enjoy the
Jeremy
autograph.
collects, as I do, autographs, but Jeremy's been collecting a lot of the signed.
A lot of music lately.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this one's called The Roadside. It's been 7 years since Billy Idol put out an album, but I've listened to this a couple times already. It's really great. So I'm like, I want more.
Get out there and buy copies so that he makes more albums.
Yeah. And one person I haven't heard of in a long time is Melissa Etheridge. She has a new album out. It's called One Way Out. Now, what's interesting about this is these are songs that she wrote in the 80s and early 90s, and she never recorded. And she got her original band together and put out this album. It's 7 songs. And there's 2 live songs, which are not the same as the recorded songs. And these songs are from a concert from 2002 at the Roxy. Some of the songs on here are like the title track, then I'm No Angel Myself, Save Myself, and That Would Be Me. Those are great songs on there. And I've listened to that a couple of times. So it's Melissa Etheridge. She sounds as great as ever.
And those songs, they were live. They weren't studio live. They were just a legitimate live song.
Yeah, they're from a live concert, 2002. Well, the 7 songs are recorded. They're studio. But then at the end, there's two live songs. So what have you been listening to lately?
So I've been listening to a few things, actually. You mentioned in the books earlier that there's an Eddie Van Halen book coming out. His son, Wolfgang.
Yeah, Wolfgang. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, has an album out, and I've played that top to bottom probably 100 times now in my car.
Yeah, I listened to that.
He actually opened recently for Guns N' Roses, and I was tempted to go see him. The date conflicted with something else that was going on, but that's definitely been on my in my car. Last week I mentioned Alice Cooper stories.
Oh, Detroit Stories.
Detroit Stories. That has been that's in my car right now, so I've been listening to that. I've been listening to Michael C. Hall from Dexter.
Really?
Has a band.
Okay.
And the band is called Princess Goes to the Butterfly Museum.
That's interesting.
It is very interesting. It's a very psychedelic kind of rock sound. It's unique. It's a little bit different. It's kind of dark, but it's enjoyable. I also recently listened to a band called SQUID.
Okay.
They released their first studio album on my birthday, actually May 7th, so just a couple months ago. Very, very unique, amazing sound. Vocals weren't the greatest, but the sound made up for it. Very, very unique, very like a psychedelic, but rock feel to it.
Okay.
So it reminded me kind of The Clash. They're a band out of London.
Okay.
So it makes sense, but it was just different. And
their first album.
Correct. So. They had some singles that released, I believe, like 2017. But this is their first studio album. And I mean, there's some repetition in the lyrics. Like I said, the vocals maybe could use a little work, but it was still an enjoyable listen. So I'm curious to see, here's kind of the trial, what's coming next. So when a band has good sound, I can overlook, you know, lyrics or vocals or, you know, things to that extent. I want to feel the music, and I was able to do that with them. And then the other thing that's guilty pleasure, Taylor Swift has released several CDs in the last year and a half.
Yes.
And I own every one of them. I've gotten signed copies, and I have unsigned copies to listen to in the car.
Confession time.
Yeah, man. She's a sexy, gorgeous woman, but her songs are very real. When you listen to them, you can almost feel that either A, this is something she's been through and she's passionate about, or this is just something that she enjoys and wants to sing about. And it doesn't matter if it's acoustic or if it's, you know, regular guitar. Her music is just powerful. Yeah. And, you know, for a young female kind of poppy artist, that's...
Yeah, it's weird because I think in the beginning she was guitar oriented and storytelling, and then she got into the really pop, you know, like Shake It Off.
Yeah.
But now she's back. Her last album I listened to a couple of times, and yeah, it's really, really good. And also what's amazing, she's re-recording her albums because of something to do with the rights to the music, or I don't know, she wasn't getting properly paid to go back and just re-record. I haven't compared. I wanted to compare like an album to like the original album to see how close.
Yes. Or to see if she has any subtle differences. You know, or if she's changing up the beat or maybe changing up the timing a little bit.
I mean, it's a lot of work to do that. And I guess it's maybe started when COVID started, maybe.
Well, you can tell too, she's one of those people who genuinely cares about her fans. You know, the In the Trees album, there's a ton of them out there. However, small record shops were actually reporting that they would randomly get a case of signed CDs that they didn't even know they were getting.
Yeah.
You know, with the $12.88 price sticker on it or whatever the price was. Yeah. And it's just so cool that someone wants to give back to the fans like that. Yeah. You know, and willing to kind of do that, to go above and beyond, and not just, oh, here's your CDs, you know, sell them and I want to make my profits.
Yeah. I've seen artists go into like Target and just start and sign the albums or the CDs without anyone knowing. So I'm getting thirsty here, so I'm going to crack open this beer. This is a new one. It's Tom's River Brewing Forbidden Fruit. It's a ale brewed with apricot and natural apricot flavor. It's only 4.9%, so it's low octane.
Maybe I'll graduate someday to, you know, this high-tech stuff that Jim is drinking. I've just got my...
And it's not an IPA, which I love, but it's just a regular ale. Oh, yeah. I can taste the apricot. Or apricot, I don't know.
Tomato.
I always mispronounce things. So. One other thing here I wanted to talk about is there's a app. I think it's sort of like Spotify, but it's more like live radio shows. It's free. It's called Live 365. They started recently Monkey Mania Radio. Yeah. So it's, 24 hours, Monkey's music. There's also shows on there, and actually a person we interviewed recently from Australia, Plastic EP, he has a show on there. I think it's once a week. So that's pretty cool. So check out the Live, and we don't get paid for this, but check out the Live 365 app. Because I think since, Sirius Radio, there's more free apps out there, more, like even Spotify, charges, but you can get away with the free version.
Spotify, I've noticed too, you find a lot of strange versions of songs. Like they'll show a picture of the album and the song that you're looking for, but then you'll go to play the song and it's like a live version, or it's, kind of like a garage sounding version, and it's like, what is this?
Well, maybe the artist, doesn't want them to play it. The Smithereens, if you go on Apple Music, not all their albums are on there. The one I talked about last podcast, Court Tavern Show, I'm pretty sure that's not even on there.
It's a shame because they have a big library, but at the same time, they're also missing so much music that's out there.
And now we're going to go into some music news. So we were talking about Abba. Now, Abba I consider to be like the Beatles of Sweden. Like when you go to the airport, I think it's in Stockholm, there's pictures of different Swedish musicians, celebrities. Of course, ABBA's in there. The ABBA Museum is incredible. I've been there. It's like they've kept everything from when they toured. All their outfits. There's a couple walls of every album they ever put out, like every single. They even have a bus in there, like a little bus that when they first started, that they drove around.
This is all in the airport?
Yeah. No, this is in the museum.
Oh.
Yeah. They have all the sound equipment, soundboards. It's behind glass, like you're looking into the recording studio, but it's all original. It's not like, they recreated it or anything. So anyway, on September 2nd, ABBA went live, and I was a little disappointed because it wasn't all four of them. It was just the two guys, Benny and Bjorn. They went live to announce what we thought was going to be their tour, but it turns out they're building a stadium in London, and it's going to be like they call them avatars. So they actually went in and, like they would do in a movie with computer generated. You'll be able to go and see the concert, but it's not going to be. They're not going to be on stage. These avatars are going to be on stage.
Wasn't Ronnie James Dio trying to do something like that?
They did some stuff with holograms.
Okay.
I think Tupac. They might have done, I know they did Elvis with the full band, but I think he might have been up on the screen.
Okay.
From real footage. It's amazing. They're building this stadium just for ABBA. That's how huge they are. And it's in London, though. You'd think it would be in Sweden. ABBA split up in 1982. And, of course, recently they ended up back in the recording studio, and they were originally going to record just 2 songs. And then Benny says, well, maybe we should do a few others. So they ended up with 10 songs, one of which is going to be a holiday song or Christmas song. No one's heard this song, but I predict it's going to be like number 1. Might knock Mariah Carey out of the top Christmas song spot. Who knows? So Benny went on to say, it was so joyful to be together in the studio again, the 4 of us, and hearing Frida and Agnetha, I think that's her name, going for it again. But he did confess he had nerves ahead of the initial recording session. He said 5 minutes before they came into the studio, I was thinking, I should have asked if they can still sing. But they could, and they can, and he says you will hear it when you listen to the record. So I think this is great news. Like I said, my wife loves ABBA. This was some years ago. I don't know if you know this, Jared, but they were offered $1 billion. And I don't know if it was a tour or just one show, but still $1 billion, even if it was a small tour, is just an amazing amount of money. And they turned it down.
I didn't know that. Because
they are worth, I think each of them are worth like 200, 300 million.
Wow.
So it's where if you don't want to do it, you don't have, they don't need the money.
Well, if your heart's not into it, it's not going to be enjoyable anyway. So
yeah, and they are older, and even though they can still sing, it's different when you're up on stage live. In the studio, you kind of tweak it here and tweak it there.
And we've been to enough concerts, and I'm sure the listeners have as well. When someone's just up there to collect a paycheck, it's a lot different than when a band's up there and having a good time.
Yeah.
And doing what they love to do.
And you can see it if they're just kind of, trudging through.
Going through the motions.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a few funny kind of stories that I found while doing some research. My first one is Mick Jagger teamed up with his brother Chris to release a new music video.
Really? I didn't even know he had a brother.
I didn't either. The video is called Anyone Seen My Heart? Chris is the younger brother of Mick Jagger. They were, I guess, just hanging out and jamming out in a room before belting out these lyrics and decided to do a new music video and release something, new and fresh.
Is it out, the video?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Unfortunately.
I don't know if he's got the moves like Mick, but they also released in their latest album, they're doing a memoir, Talking to Myself, for the passing of Charlie Watts.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Watts' publicist confirmed this. So it's just something that, I guess, for me, seeing that, first of all, to your point, I didn't even know that Mick Jagger had a brother. But seeing them kind of pair up and do something together and then do something as a tribute to a former band member, it caught my eye. It was something that I thought was interesting and worthy of, if nothing else, checking it out and seeing it at least one time.
So Chris sings, or does he play an instrument?
They're singing together.
Okay.
They're both paired up and doing a duet in a sense.
Mick's not the greatest singer.
No.
Does his brother sound okay?
It sounded...
Or they sound meshed together, maybe?
They sound meshed together, yes.
Okay.
So it's... I mean, look, if you're a Rolling Stones fan, you might love it. If you're not a Rolling Stones fan, it sounds kind of like a typical Rolling Stones song.
Oh, okay.
But it's still... It's worth checking out.
Okay. So I have a little bit of sad music news. Nobody died, but the band Genesis, they were supposed to... I know they've gotten back together in the last 10 years. I know there was...
Without Peter Gabriel.
Yeah. With Phil Collins.
Yes.
I remember them doing a tour, though, like 6-7 years ago. And I don't think they had toured in a long time. So this was another tour they were planning before COVID. And of course, it got postponed. And I like Genesis. I liked them when I was younger, and I still like them. I listened to Duke a couple months ago. This is called the Last Domino Tour. So it sounds like it'd be their last tour, which I think it will be, because Phil Collins, he has a lot of health issues. I was considering going, and I looked at the ticket prices, and I think the cheapest ticket was $250, $300. Wow. So recently, I got this from... Actually, it's prevention.com, which I think is a health website. Phil says I'm kind of physically challenged a bit, which is very frustrating because I'd love to be playing up there. So this is recent news that Phil will not be playing drums.
Wow.
He says that he can barely hold a drumstick with his hand. Phil Collins' son will be playing drums, and Phil will be, of course, singing. I did read that he may play drums on one song, but he can barely hold a drumstick. I don't know.
Maybe he'll be like Rick Allen, learn how to play the drums with his feet.
Yeah. Or his teeth or something. In 2009, Phil underwent back surgery, and he said somehow during the last Genesis tour, I dislocated some vertebrae in my upper neck, and that affected my hands. And then there was the incident where I think he fell and he hit a coffee table. Yeah, in 2017, he suffered a serious fall in his hotel room. Oh, he hit his head on a chair. So,
wow, I would say he was rocking too hard, but Genesis isn't really hard rock.
Yeah. I'd still go see him if the tickets weren't like,
I would
$300.
love to see Genesis.
Even if Phil wasn't on the drums, because it's the original band. I mean, Phil's a great drummer, or was, but maybe his son is, he had a good teacher. Maybe Phil taught him.
They always say playing the drums and singing is one of the hardest things to do when it comes to music.
Yeah, I think even playing guitar and singing is,
I agree. But
you still have to keep a rhythm and sing.
Yep. But what Phil was able to do, not only with the drum set, but with his vocals as well. Very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
You want to hear my Genesis story?
Yeah.
I was at CVS one time, and No Reply at All comes on the radio. Mm-hmm. And I'm singing away, whatever. I don't really care. This kid comes up to me, and he's like, anybody that sings Phil Collins is gay. And he was totally joking around and being funny about it. And I didn't even hesitate. I was like, well, I guess it's a good thing that I'm singing Genesis then.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he was so confused because he didn't realize what just happened. Mm-hmm. That's my funny Genesis story. I always think of that every time any Genesis or Phil Collins song comes on.
No, I think Genesis is cool. I don't remember Genesis with Peter Gabriel. I only knew Peter Gabriel from his, solo. And then I found out he was in Genesis. Because Genesis was a lot bigger when Phil took over, with the hit songs. Maybe a lot of people don't even know Peter Gabriel was the lead singer of Genesis. Peter didn't play drums either.
No, he did not.
I don't think he plays instrument at all.
I always loved Land of Confusion by Genesis.
Oh, and the video too.
Yes. I was going to say the music video was fantastic. But then it got redone by some hard rock band. And I mean, they did it okay. I think it was Five Finger Death Punch or something like that. And they did an okay job with it, but I just always get so upset because I'm like, it's such a classic song. Man. So you kind of alluded to this earlier, but my next story, Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
She's full of surprises.
What is she doing now?
She releases Wildest Dreams out of nowhere. It's a 1989 song. I listened to it before I came over today.
Okay.
Phenomenal. Fantastic. Another one of those, as I said earlier, she's just so real and you can feel her music, kind of through the screen. But she did it specifically for her TikTok fan base. I'm not on TikTok. It's one of the platforms I don't really use, but it was uploaded recently, on YouTube. So it was something I saw the article today and, it's not big news, but anytime for me, like I said, Taylor Swift, I had said on my, favorite album podcast that I'm a big fan of Def Leppard. And they're one of the bands that kind of survived throughout the years by being pop, rock, classic. Taylor Swift to me is one of those kind of unique musician talents.
She's gone from different country.
Who can do it all.
Yeah, to folk, pop, dance, all that.
Rock. She can do everything. So I'm not comparing
Maybe
Taylor
she'll do
Swift.
A blues album.
You know what?
Day.
I bet you she probably could.
Yeah.
And I bet it would sound good too.
I think she lives in a studio. She might have moved in there.
It does seem that way.
She's totally focused on recording a lot of stuff now.
But she's not releasing, garbage just to get a CD out there. Everything that she releases is, in my opinion, it's very good.
But I think she's actually recording her first 5 albums. So I don't know how many it is. And I think she already put out a couple.
Yes.
And in between all the new stuff too.
Yeah. But to me, I guess she's just different because, Miley Cyrus is someone that I enjoy her music. But Miley Cyrus is very out there when it comes to public appearances.
Well, she's toned down actually a little bit over the last years.
Sure.
I think she's becoming more rock and roll, and I think she's transforming or transitioning into Stevie Nicks.
Okay.
Her voice is getting really, really rough, really it was unique or different to begin with.
Right.
But now it's she's smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day or something. I don't know what's going on.
Janis Joplin.
Yeah. She's I'm serious. She sounded more like Stevie Nicks. And her last album, Billy Idol was on one of the songs. So that was she's pairing up now with, Joan Jett. But she's also done stuff with Dolly Parton. But I don't think she's lately as wild as she was. I think she kind of got over that. And I'm telling you, more of a rocker.
More of an adult.
And also with Taylor Swift, people who are listening, if you've only heard a couple songs or you only know Taylor Swift from Shake It Up?
Shake It Up from Frozen.
Listen to some other stuff because that's not who she is.
You got to give her CDs kind of a one-over at least, from start to finish just to kind of get a feel for what she can do.
Yeah, the songs she's known for writing about ex-boyfriends and about love lost
But you don't get that sense of just, this is my feelings and feel sorry for me.
Yeah. She's a good storyteller.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say she's up there with, Bob Dylan or, I like to see in the next 10 years where where she goes.
I agree. Because, I mean, I alluded to it earlier, but her lyrics are real.
Mm-hmm.
But she's the type of person, too. She's not afraid to swear, which isn't a big deal. But a lot of times female artists, it doesn't seem to fit.
Yeah.
But it matches her lyrics so well. She's not doing it overly excessively.
Yeah, just to add the word.
It's just, this is what I'm feeling. This is the story that I'm telling. This is the music to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's every song that she performs is enjoyable, in my honest opinion. I'm sure there's a few clunkers out there, but...
And I know you said guilty pleasure. Yeah, we all have whatever music we listen to. You know, maybe we tell our friends, you know, what bands we really like, but then almost not in private, but you don't tell a lot of people. But music it depends how it makes you feel. It could be any genre of music. Like I like Halsey, and I love Kelly Clarkson. There it is. That's my guilty pleasure.
I used to love Carrie Underwood, but she's gotten, I don't know, a little more stale.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like Taylor Swift just keeps bringing something new to each album. Whereas, you know, Carrie Underwood just seemed to kind of stay at the same over and over again. Just my opinion. And
then certain artists I'd go by, it may not even be great songwriting, but it could be their voice, like Kelly Clarkson. That's what attracts me to her. And the songs might not be that great, but I just love hearing her voice. So we're going to talk about an old rocker. Do you remember? I know you do, Jeremy. Steve Perry.
Absolutely.
So Steve Perry was lead singer of Journey, and then he kind of disappeared.
Voice.
Well, then he had some solo albums.
Yes.
I think Oh Sherry.
Oh Sherry.
And then he kind of disappeared, and there were some rumors about health problems or with singing or even his vocals. And then a couple years ago, he put out a great album. I think it was kind of under the radar. He is coming out with a holiday album.
I saw that. I pre-ordered that last album that came out.
Okay.
I got a signed copy of that one and listened to it. And to your point, very underrated. You didn't see it on any charts.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't hear a lot about it on the radio.
Yeah.
But it sounded very good.
And Steve Perry I don't think he was married, but he was dating this woman who she unfortunately passed away. But she had, I heard him in an interview where she kind of convinced him that this is what you need to do. You need to still sing. And I think that's what got him motivated again.
That's good. Because, I mean, when you think of fantastic, music voices, there's Freddie Mercury, there's Steve Perry.
Yeah, he's one of the great rock and roll voices.
There's not too many up there that are just so unique and so electric.
Yeah.
And he never misses a beat. When you have a high voice like that, it's difficult to find that range. And it's a very unique trait that only certain musicians have, and he has it.
So like we just said, his last album was 2018, and that was his first album since 1994.
I didn't realize it's been that long already.
Yeah, so that was 3 years ago. So this album is coming out November 5th, and he is on Fantasy Records, and we have a link to Fantasy. A girl by the name of Andrea Von Kampen we interviewed. She was just signed to Fantasy Records. Paul Simon's on that label, James Taylor, Government Mule, Tedeschi Trucks Band. All these good bands are on this little record label, but they've got some really good artists on this label. So apparently a couple weeks ago, and I didn't even know this, but I have this thing with Christmas music is I don't like to listen to Christmas music until like Thanksgiving night.
The end of November.
Well, or the day after Thanksgiving.
Yes, Black Friday.
So apparently I'll Be Home for Christmas was already released. I didn't even know that. The single.
Okay.
But I don't know anyone who's listening to Christmas music right now. But before I got Apple Music, every year I would buy like 3 or 4 Christmas CDs. So I have like 50 different Christmas albums at least.
That's about 47 more than I have.
Old ones, and if new ones, if they interest me, I would buy them. Steve Perry says, I hope when people hear this record, they're teleported in the same way I was when I recorded all these songs. I hope it brings them back to those golden moments with their loved ones and gives them that feeling of joy and connection and comfort that we all need so much.
So is he covering like famous Christmas songs, or did he create his own Christmas songs?
No, these are, let's see, there's 10 songs. It looks like they're all old Christmas songs.
Okay.
We've got the Christmas song, I'll Be Home for Christmas, Old Lang Syne, Winter Wonderland, What Are You Doing New Year's Eve? I always like that song. Santa Claus is Coming to Town. That should be a fun one. Silver Bells, not real crazy about that one. And Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. That should be a really good one. So yeah, actually we have 8 songs, sorry. So that's a short and sweet holiday album. So check that out. And November 5th, Steve Perry, called The Season.
Totally off topic, but The Offspring released a brand new Christmas song last year. It was actually really awesome. And it wasn't...
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't like a redone. It was something brand new. And I'll have to find it again because it was like a single that they randomly... The last Christmas album I bought was the Goo Goo Dolls. They released a Christmas album that was signed. Of course. Had to get the signed copy.
I really like another guilty pleasure is Sia. She had her Christmas album.
Sia's actually a very underrated musician.
I love that Christmas album.
I don't know if I've heard the Christmas album.
Oh, it's great.
But
it's a lot of original songs.
That's what I do like.
Yeah.
Because, Christmas time, you get the same, 12 songs over and over and over again. And they're sung by 500 different bands.
I know.
But it's still the same song.
B.B. King's album is pretty good. Like, almost everybody has a Christmas album.
Yeah.
I have Neil Diamond.
My favorite is always Band-Aid. I wonder if those people in Africa do know about Christmas.
I feel old though sometimes, because I go on TikTok and even Instagram or whatever. But TikTok,
yeah, I gotta get into this TikTok thing.
There was a video of Do They Know It's Christmas? Just a little snippet, and there's people in there. What's the name of what is the name of the song? Like, how have you never heard this?
Yeah.
When people would listen to the radio all the time, didn't matter how old you were, you'd hear songs. Now it's more difficult. When you go on Apple Music, you're picking what you want to listen to. You're not really listening to what other people think are good and playing, unless you have Sirius Radio. But even that, if you're listening to the 80s new wave, that's all you're hearing, but...
Well, and you don't have a disc jockey telling you anymore, that song was performed by, X. Now you need to either know the name of the song or you need to know the musician or you're not going to be able to find it.
I learned a lot from MTV, though, and now they don't. I would sit there and just watch music videos.
Pop-up videos.
And then they have a new song, a new video, and that's where you got to learn new bands.
Yeah. Because even if you didn't like that song, maybe you like the sound of the song. Yeah. So you would check out the band.
So what is there now?
Music. There's not a lot. And if you turn on the radio, all you're hearing is Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer, or, some other overplayed song that you've heard 15 million times in your life.
I told Sue on Facebook they have Mark Safe from. I'm going to do Mark Safe from Bon Jovi because I haven't heard him in 2 weeks now.
Well, he's got to be at least 3/4 of the way there now. Maybe he made it.
Yeah, I hope he did. He was halfway there.
And Gina hopefully stopped working the docks.
The diner. She worked at the diner.
She worked in the diner, damn it. Who was at the docks?
So that does it for our music news. And next up, we're going to do the top 10 singles from the week ending September 24th, 1966. Okay, so this is the week ending September 24th, 1966. I was not even a year old, and Jeremy was minus 18 or something. I don't know. Jeremy was minus 21. Something like that.
What year was it?
66.
67,
yeah. Minus 21.
Minus 21.
Nice.
My mom wasn't even alive yet.
Oh, yeah, she's
only 20 years older than me.
Okay. Yeah, she's younger than me. So, okay, number 10.
This is Casey Kasem. We got number 10, Reach Out, I'll Be There by the Four Tops.
Thank you, Casey. Reach Out, I'll Be There. Now, Jeremy, did you listen to all these?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So I don't know if you noticed, but I noticed these weird sounds. In the beginning of this song, there's a weird horse trotting sound in the beginning for some reason.
Okay.
Unless that was just in my head.
No, you heard it.
This is of course, it's the Four Tops. It's, you had, in the 60s, you had all these, what do you call them?
Very slow.
Quartets, where they there'd be like 4 people, 6 people.
Yes.
All choreographed dance move, and just singers, though. They weren't playing instruments. So one of them was like the Temptations, the Miracles, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. So anyway, so this is, of course, backup singers. What's interesting is there is a part in this song with it's just the backup singers singing, not the lead vocalist. The main subject is a girl, and she's sad for some reason, but we don't know why. But he's going to be there for her, right?
Right.
So this is one of the best known Motown tunes of the 60s. Considered the top signature song. So this is another, we talked, I don't know if we talked about them before, but Holland, Dozier, and Holland. They wrote a lot of the songs for the Supremes. And they were writing new songs for the Four Tops to record for an album. Lamont Dozier said he wanted to write a journey of emotions and sustain tension like a bolero. And a bolero is a genre of song which originated in eastern Cuba, for all you history buffs, in the late 19th century. And it's unrelated to the Spanish dance, by the way, of the same name, bolero. Now, for the recording, the writers and producers intentionally put Levi Stubbs at the top of his vocal range on this song to make sure he'd have that cry and hunger and wailing in his voice. Now, Dozier also said that they were strongly influenced by Bob Dylan at the time, and we wanted Levi to sing the lyrics as a shout out to Dylan. Sometimes when you're writing a song, you have something intended for the way the song, but you don't really hear it. I guess because I'm thinking of Bob Dylan, I'm thinking thinking of a Bob Dylan song, but not the way he sings. They're saying,
yeah.
So this is a pretty good song. So number 9, we have "Wouldn't It Be Nice" by the Beach Boys, and it's a nice, pleasant song. But I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to never hear this song again? It's about a man who wants his girlfriend to sleep over for once. And he talks about being married to her. But, I think this guy, he just needs to slow down a little bit. So this is one of the 8 songs that Brian Wilson and Tony Asher wrote for the Pet Sounds album. Now, in Brian Wilson's 1991 memoir, this is what I'm confused about, unless he had a ghostwriter. It says, since discredited, right? So this is his memoir, but this has been since discredited. It was suggested that he was inspired to write this song after having sexual fantasies about the Honeys, that was a female group, the singer Diane Rovell, which was his sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Asher supported that Wilson was definitely infatuated with her. And this innocent aura that she seemed to possess, Brian was really so naive, he says. Says Wilson reportedly brought up the subject while they composed the songs on Pet Sounds. As Asher remembered, he'd stop in the middle of writing a song or a conversation or whatever and start going on about Diane, about how innocent, sweet, and beautiful she was. And he said, I'd be thinking, huh? Your wife's in the next room and you're talking about your sister? So who knows the truth? Did he write this about his sister-in-law? So who knows? Will we ever know? I don't know. So let's move on to number 8. And we got 96 Tears. And this is an interesting name for a band. It's Question Mark and the Mysterians, right?
Right.
They're from Michigan, and they're actually considered a garage band.
Which is odd, because this is right in the heart of the Motown era.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this reached number 1 on Billboard Hot 100, October 29th. So it did get to number 1. It's at number 8 right now. So this has a great electric organ sound throughout the song. I think it's a little gritty sounding and the vocals are kind of raw. And this song reminds me of Eric Burdon from the Animals.
It's a great comparison.
Yeah.
You know, for its time, the sound of this song didn't really fit in. Mm-hmm. I was surprised that this was in the top 10, not because it's a bad song, but because the sound, when you compare it to the other 9 on this list, it doesn't even compare whatsoever.
Yeah, this is more like a gritty, like rock song, you know. The lyrics are a little strange, though. You know, it says, when the sun comes up, I'll be right on top. You'll be right down there looking up. I don't know what...
we know what that implies.
And I think maybe it's a girl who, you know, broke up with him and he's about to become a rock star, you know, where he's on top.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and like, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
I found another girl. So this band only released 2 albums, believe it or not, in 66 and 67. And the lead singer, he is indeed a mystery, Jeremy.
Yeah.
His name is Rudy Martinez, right?
Okay.
Martinez. And he had his name legally changed, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think he had it changed to?
You know, I actually know this band and I know the story, but I forget what he had his name changed to.
His name is now question mark.
Ah, that's what it was.
But spelled out, question mark.
Yep.
He also claims his real name isn't Rudy Martinez and that his soul comes from Mars. Yeah, he actually said that. Now, I found an article. I did some scouring, you know, on the internets from 2019 where his house burned down and he was living in a trailer. He has no Wikipedia page, so there's not much info on this guy. So I don't know where he is, if he's still in the trailer.
I might be confused. Is this the guy that was huge in like Italy, but not in the United States?
I don't know.
No.
I couldn't find much on him, believe it or not.
So there's a story.
Like if you don't have a Wikipedia page, it's hard to...
Yeah, I could have sworn. Because I watched it was like an MTV behind the band or, you know, something to that extent.
I think he performed recently because...
Yes, I'm pretty sure this is the guy.
Because this interview is from 2 years ago, and I think he was performing somewhere and they tracked him down.
He wasn't getting royalties or something from his albums. Okay. However, he was like a top seller overseas. Okay. If it's the same guy.
I know who you're thinking of.
And this guy was like a god over there.
Oh, this isn't him. Damn. You're thinking of Rodriguez.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Sorry.
Yeah, I talked about him on one of the podcasts.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw that the movie. It's really good.
I didn't see the movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm ruining the segment.
No, that's okay.
Rodriguez.
Yes. Yeah, I have. They re-released his first album.
Yeah.
Which I have. No.
So this was on, it was like...
Oh, that's an incredible
Access
story.
Or something. Yeah. I was fascinated with it. I couldn't believe it.
I think you can get the movie. I watched it on some free on some site. It was free. I cast it to my TV.
Okay.
And watched it. Now my friend Ken told me about Rodriguez like years ago. That's the first time I ever heard of the guy. But yeah, Rodriguez and Rudy Martinez. Rodriguez is actually a pretty normal guy. This guy Rudy, you know, if he's saying his soul comes from Mars, he's, you know, out there.
He's an alien.
Like Mars. Yeah. So we have number 7, Black is Black by Los Bravos. Now, I know this song. Again, I don't know the band because maybe they only had one hit. So this song has a good beat, great build up. I love the chorus. There's a scream in there, you know? And of course, it's actually about a guy who wants his girl back. Now, this was the first Spanish group to reach number 4 in the U.S. The song sold over 1 million copies. So pretty straightforward lyrics. Black is black. I want my baby back. My baby back. My baby back. You know, singing about ribs maybe there. It's gray. It's gray.
He's eating them at Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah. It's gray. It's gray since she went away. What can I do? Because I'm feeling blue. So that's kind of cool. You guys from black to gray to blue. You know, got some colors in there. So they were a Spanish beat group formed in 1965, and they're from Madrid. lead singer's from Germany. Now, the lead singer, his name was Mike Kogel, and he changed his name. Another person had changed his name. He didn't change it to, Los Bravos or anything. He changed it to Mike Kennedy for some reason. Mike Kogel eventually left the group, and one of the people that replaced him was Tony Anderson. Now, Tony Anderson is John Anderson's brother from Yes.
Yes.
So there was a new studio version of Black is Black. It was recorded and released in 2015 with the original singer. So he came back to, re-record. I don't know why. I don't know why, like, a song that's people know and it's maybe people still listen to, why you would go back and how could you improve on, like a classic old song?
If it hit the top 10, then it was good enough on its own that you probably didn't have to redo it.
Yeah. So number 6, we got Beauty is Only Skin Deep by The Temptations. Now, I'd never heard this song before. It's The Temptations, so you can't really go wrong with that.
I was surprised that they're only on this list once, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe they were more earlier or later. I don't know. Maybe just it wasn't their year or their month.
Who knows?
So there's a music box chiming sound. Parts of the song I noticed. There's a trumpet in this song. You kind of get the gist of what the song's about, but I don't know if you could record it today. Maybe you could. About being in love with someone who's not that attractive. Mm-hmm. But the way the lyrics are, it's done in a nice way.
In a professional kind of way.
Yeah, and hence the title, Beauty is Only Skin Deep. So it is about a guy who falls in love with someone who isn't as attractive as some of the other girls. So here's some of the lyrics. My friends ask what I see in you, but it goes deeper than the eye can view. You have a pleasing personality, and that's an ever-living rare quality. So you may not be attractive, but you have a really good personality.
Yep.
So this song was a 1966 hit single when it was recorded for the Gordy Motown label, and that's Barry Gordy. Billboard described the single as a smooth rocker featuring bongo and brass and a well-done vocal on a strong lyric. The song was number 3 pop hit and a number 1 R&B hit in the United States. So this song never appeared on a regular Temptations studio LP. It was featured on the group's 1966 Greatest Hits album.
That's kind of upsetting. If a song hits the top 10, you would think that it would have been on one of their albums and not just a greatest hits album.
Yeah.
I think we can probably relate on this, I'm guessing. Greatest hits albums are okay. Yeah. However, typically they're the most overplayed songs that you hear on the radio, and it really doesn't give you the feel of the band as far as what their music actually has to offer.
No, because sometimes the songs that aren't overly played are might be some of your favorite songs.
Exactly.
Like Cheap Trick, for instance.
Great example.
Yeah. Like I Want You to Want Me, I can do without hearing.
If I never heard that again, I'd be okay. Because I love Cheap Trick. And
even The Flame, I'm not real crazy about, but there's a lot of other songs that were never played on the radio.
One of my favorites is She's Tight.
Yeah.
And people look at me like I have 8 eyes because they're like, what is that song?
Yeah.
And it's just a very fun, quirky, upbeat song.
Yeah, like Borderline is one. Down. Songs that most people never heard, but they do play live. What amazes me is that I didn't know, I thought this was more a newer thing with greatest hits albums where you would have your songs from, of course, other albums and then add 1 or 2 new songs. I thought that was more a newer thing to do. I didn't know in 1966 they were doing that.
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, that you would actually put a brand new song on a greatest hits album.
Because of, you think about it too, in 1966, financially, it wasn't as easy to put out albums as it is today either.
Yeah.
Barry Gordy was putting out a lot of young Motown musicians, specifically in the Michigan area.
It's amazing what came out of, they called it Hitsville, USA. Yeah. They had a lot of great songwriters, and a lot of the same people wrote all the hits. They were like their own Beatles over there.
They were.
If you think about the Beatles, like all the hits, all the great songs they had.
And I don't know Jim, if you've ever been to Hitsville, but if not, it is well worth the trip.
Yeah, I'd like to go there.
A lot of great stories, a lot of great memories, a lot of great, artifacts. Maybe that's not the right term, but, band memorabilia and stories, and just it's a lot of fun.
The one writer of the song was Norman Whitfield and also Edward Holland. So he was part of the Holland Dozier in Holland, right? Mm-hmm. So he wrote this song with this other guy, Norman Whitfield. So Whitfield started hanging around Hitsville offices at the age of 19, and he got a job with quality control. And the other song he wrote with Edward Holland was Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
Nice.
Yeah, which was much bigger hit than this one.
So checking in at number 5, Bus Stop by the Hollies. Bus Stop was written by a UK songwriter, Graham Goldman. He penned major hits for the Yardbirds and Herman's Hermits. Mm-hmm. The song reached number 5 in the UK singles chart.
So, Jeremy, this song, I know you've listened to it, and Jeremy, it's about a guy stalking a girl.
That's what it was.
Stop.
Stalking her at the bus stop.
And then he offers her his umbrella.
Yes.
And then he's like wondering if they're going to get married. But you know what? There's a happy ending, because by the end of the song, they do get married.
Yes.
If I could interject here. So the opening lines of this song were written by Graham Goldman's father. And then Graham Goldman continued with the rest of the song in his bedroom. And then he finished the song all on his way to work. I would assume maybe on a bus, Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the bus. Yeah, he finished the song then on the bus the next day.
He was influenced.
And maybe he was stalking this girl.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So
the song's a really good song. I think really upbeat. And just a pleasant song.
So number 4. We have our first Beatles song, Yellow Submarine. I love this song. It's a quick 2-minute, happy-go-lucky, pot-smoking song.
They're smoking pot in the song?
They're probably not smoking pot in the song, but it's, such a hippie, psychedelic, just different for the time, song that I was quite surprised to see it on the list, to be honest with you, because to me it's a fun song that you can play and maybe listen to and then be done with it for a while. But I can't imagine it being in the top 5 on the radio over and over and over again.
I have to say it might be my least favorite Beatles song.
And they have a lot of songs, so
I'm surprised to see this is on the top 10.
I was very surprised. I would have thought at least a dozen other songs before this.
Now, of course, Ringo is singing this.
Yeah.
And it
least favorite.
It ranks up there with Octopus's Garden. This is Ringo. You don't like me?
No.
So they say Yellow Submarine 23 times, Jeremy.
That is impressive that you kept count.
And in such a short song. That's what's amazing.
Right. It's only, 2 minutes and 6 seconds?
But I really think it's the most unenthusiastic vocals I've ever heard. Sounds like they just woke up and they were, okay, we got to do a song. It's the last song on the album. We gotta get through it. I don't know. Ringo sounds so uninspired, and I mean, the song is a happy. There's a lot going on in the song. A lot of different sounds.
The beat gives it a happy, upbeat feel.
Yeah, but just listen to if you listen to isolated. I love to listen to isolated vocals from Ringo. Yeah, it would put you to sleep probably.
I believe it.
So
that sentence reminded me of there is a movie out there of Sammy Hagar performing Running with the Devil.
Okay.
Without the music.
Oh, no.
And it's just him going, ow.
That's funny.
So if I could hear Ringo singing without the background music, I think that would be a blast, because his unenthusiastic voice without the instruments, picking it up and making it more peppy. Yeah. That would be a lot of fun. Checking in at number 3, Sunshine Superman, Donovan. Sunshine Superman was on the 3rd album from the British singer-songwriter Donovan. It was released August 26th of 66, but it was not released in the United Kingdom because of a contractual dispute. Little fun fact. In June of 67, a compilation of the Sunshine, Superman, and Mellow Yellow albums were released in the UK.
I don't know what you think of Donovan, but I think he had some odd song. You know, he's just an odd person.
Yes.
Right. So he had Season of the Witch, also Mellow Yellow.
Mm-hmm.
They call me Mellow, you know.
Yeah.
Just very odd. He's a cool songwriter. I just wonder what people thought, you know, of this song when they first heard it, you know, or Donovan himself. Because here you have the Beatles, you got the Beach Boys, and the song has kind of, I don't know, I call it like a creepy lyric in this song. Because I made my mind up, you're going to be mine. You know, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So this is considered to be one of the first examples of the music genre that came to be known as psychedelia. This song incorporates elements of psychedelic pop, folk rock, psychedelic folk, and psychedelic rock. A lot of psychedelic stuff going on there. So on this song, also, I mean, maybe a lot of people don't know it. I really didn't know this until I just researched it a little bit, that Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones are both playing on this song.
I didn't know that either.
And Jimmy Page was, I want to say he might have been sort of a session musician. Maybe sometimes, you know, in the beginning of your career, or you're just hanging out in the recording studio, trying to see what other artists are doing maybe, or you get pulled in, or like, hey, you want to play guitar on this, and that's how that happens sometimes. So obviously Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones were friends, I would assume, and were hanging out.
You would hope.
Yeah, and I don't know if this was Donovan's first hit or not. So it's an interesting song. If you've never heard it, definitely give it a listen.
It's worth at least one listen.
Give Donovan a listen, you know, Mellow Yellow.
That's such a weird song.
And Season of the Witch. Those are the three. So on to number 2.
Number 2, You Can't Hurry Love. No, not Phil Collins, The Supremes. Written and produced by Motown production team Holland Dozier Holland.
There you go.
The song made the UK top 5, made the top 10 in the Australian singles chart, and obviously here at number 2.
Mm-hmm. It spent 2 weeks at number 1.
I was going to say, I believe it also was at number 1.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks. Billboard named it the number 19 on their list of 100 greatest girl group songs of all time. Found that interesting. It's, you know, with the Supremes, you're kind of getting a similar sound each time, but it's something always worth checking out. Always kind of makes you feel like you're there listening to them live.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a great sound.
Holland Dozier and Holland. I'm just amazed because they wrote 10 out of the 12 Supremes, not just Supreme songs, but number 1 hit.
Yes.
And I'm sure they wrote a lot of other hits too, but this is just one group. And believe it or not, they're still alive, all 3 of them. They're around 80 years old.
And I bet you they could still belt it out if they wanted to.
No, not the Supreme. The writers of the song are still alive.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cut that out.
Diana Ross is still alive. One of them just passed away, I think, this year. I read her book, Plastic EP. We just interviewed. Like I said, he interviewed Mary Wilson. She passed away, I think, this year. And, you know, when COVID started, I had a lot of time on my hands. So I basically read 6 or 7 books within a couple months, 2-3 months. And one of them was Dream Girl by Mary Wilson. It was just a really great book. It's from the beginning of her like life, and then how the Supremes got into work themselves into Motown and Hitsville, US. They just started hanging out, and they were really young. They were like 16, 17,
right?
And they wouldn't really sign them because they didn't want them touring and stuff.
Yep.
But they were persistent. So it's a great book. I love the Supremes. I always liked them. Yeah, Dream Girl by Mary Wilson. That's a great book.
Was that an autobiography?
Yeah.
Number 1, Cherish, The Association. Pop song written by Terry Kirkman. Released, obviously, 1966. Reached number 1 in September of that year and remained in the top position for 3 weeks. Billboard ranked the record as the number 7 song of 1966 and later as the number 2 after a revision of the year-end charts. In Canada, the song also reached number 1. This was a song prior to listening to it. I wasn't at all familiar with it, which I was surprised since it had hit number 1 and, you know, I've tried to delve into the history of music. But I was pleasantly surprised at the sound of the song. I mean, it matches most of what's on this list, but it's a band that, you know, I'm not familiar with by name.
Yeah.
So I wasn't quite sure what to expect going into it. And then, you know, just to hear something kind of catchy was enjoyable. A pleasant surprise, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's a very nice song, but I also think it's another song about a guy stalking a girl. He wishes he was with her, and in the song it sounds like a lot of guys are trying to win her over, but he's too shy, you know, to approach her. Terry Kirkman wrote the song in a half an hour and put it into the live act of his group.
That's awesome.
Yeah, in a half an hour. He was looking for an emotional, slow-tempo song in the same vein as the Righteous Brothers' You've Lost That Loving Feelin', which you can kind of hear. This song's very nice song. I don't know if it should have been number 1. So that pretty much does it. That does do it for our top 10. I want to thank everybody for listening.
Yeah, Jim, thank you for having me in. This is my second week now as a substitute.
And there'll probably be more.
I'm looking to take over, you know, a permanent role here.
I don't know. I don't know when Mike's going to be back. But we're hoping to do some interviews soon. We're going to try and put these out. Like last month, we only put out 1 podcast, which is fine. But we're going to try what we can.
And, you know, we're always up for listening to new music, so maybe leave us some of your new albums that you enjoy in the comments section.
Yeah, or you can actually email us at jimandmikepodcast@gmail.com.
And remember, turn off the TV.
And turn up the music.
Intro and exit music by the band 99%. Today's show was produced and edited by Jim Thatcher. Jim and Mike Talk Music is recorded at Did You Say
7
Studios in Washington, New Jersey. You can find Jim and Mike Talk Music on Apple Music, Spotify, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
This song, All the Way Up, by Eddie, used with royalty-free permission.